Our Constitution is known for being a strong document, laying out a concrete set of rules on how the government shall operate. It lays out the roles of various elected officials, how they balance the powers among themselves, and how we the people hold them to account. The Constitution also lays out a pretty concrete set of rights to its citizen. The idea being that these rights are basic and fundamental, endowed at birth simply for the fact of being born and for no other reason. These rights are simple. You have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to speak freely as long as you can accept the consequences without government intervention. I mean, if you walk up to somebody and tell him that his mother's fat, he's going to knock you out, and there's nothing the government can do about that. You also have the right to live without worry that the government will try to imprison you or to take your property for a crime that they just made up against you by using a legal system that you don't understand. One of the big points to this presidential administration is that our nation is having an argument over how these rights apply to elected officials, specifically the rights that apply to criminal and judicial, and extra-criminal and extrajudicial proceedings. Now, the impeachment hearings that we just saw and the events that followed definitely put this idea to the test. An impeachment and the trial that follow are indeed political in nature, there's no question about that. But the constitutional language that surrounds the process and the Federalist Papers that pertain to it both agree that it's a political process meant to remove a sitting official for a high crime or a misdemeanor. With all of this in mind, if you were to go onto Twitter and mention the fact that the president's right to a speedy trial by a jury of his peers is being violated, then a rash of blue wave and hashtag resist accounts will jump to remind you that these rights don't matter because this is, and I quote, not a criminal trial. And we saw a similar idea during Justice Brett Kavanaugh's Senate confirmation hearings. And while that actually wasn't a criminal trial or anything similar to it, the actions and the lines of questioning that were being used by Senate Democrats definitely simulated a trial without an arrest, indictment, or due process. And left-wing Twitter continued to justify railroading a man as not a criminal trial. With the concept that human rights are endowed by a creator rather than granted by the government, it's no surprise that I fall on the side that government officials should be extended the same protections from government overstep as any private citizen, and I honestly trust that most of the people who watch this channel would feel the same. So, due process shall be applied in any interaction with the government's judgment. And this week, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley introduced a measure to apply these protections just the same as they would be applied to a private citizen. Now, this news was all but buried with the ramping up of tensions in the Middle East this past week. In fact, as many memes point out, after the killing of Soleimani, the talk of impeachment has all but disappeared. But on Thursday, Senator Hawley announced that he intends to introduce a measure to dismiss the articles of impeachment in their entirety. According to Axios, Hawley has cited that Democrats continue to tell us how urgent the impeachment trial is, a sentiment that is well known among social, alternative, and mainstream media alike. And yet, with articles of impeachment being voted on, House leadership has thus far refrained from officially presenting the articles to the Senate for trial. Now, we all know that Speaker Pelosi was very reluctant to pursue an impeachment from the start. Formalizing the process was slow as well, the leadership preferring informal interviews to formal public hearings, and even now, once the process concluded on the House's side, Mrs. Pelosi has chosen to hold the process up, preventing a trial she knows she is unlikely to win. In spite of the urgency to remove the president, she has withheld the articles while convincing her supporters that it is somehow a good idea. Senator Hawley's reasoning behind his proposal restores the idea that the process is a criminal trial. It is, in fact, a judgment from government officials, so that's not a stretch to believe. He released 2 tweets on Thursday outlining his reasoning. Dems said impeachment was urgent. Now they don't want to have a trial because they have no evidence. In real world, if prosecution doesn't proceed with case, it gets dismissed. So on Monday, I will introduce measure to dismiss this bogus impeachment for lack of prosecution. This will expose Dems circus for what it is, a fake impeachment, abuse of the Constitution based on no evidence. If Dems won't proceed with the trial, bogus articles should be dismissed and @RealDonaldTrump fully cleared. With these tweets, Hawley hits the nail right on the head. Our right to a speedy trial by a jury of our peers protects us from sitting in a judicial limbo while a motivated prosecution attempts to trump up additional charges on us, and a president should be no different at this point. Our by the people for the people government model means that there should be no ruling class, so to the left's point, a president should not be above the law. But what they won't tell you is that he was also born with the same rights that we are. And those are rights that the House of Representatives swore an oath to uphold. What do you think about the current direction of the impeachment trial, and do you think Josh Hawley's proposal will pass? I always welcome a thoughtful and positive discussion in the comment section below, and especially over on Twitter, that is @EdsBlogTwitter, with a 1 in place of the I. Thanks as always for listening to this show and supporting this channel. And remember, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Take care. You're